Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. We already knew this, but Donald Trump has confirmed that South Africa is on a watch list. I told you, with Donald Trump, anything can happen anytime. Anytime. And South Africa now is a contestant on the reality show called Trump 2.0. We are staring in that thing, and we are going to have to pay attention to every move this guy makes, because any given moment, something can happen. The first season of Trump USA, South Africa was not on the list. The Trump tsunami was hitting everywhere, left, right, and center, but we could watch from a distance and tune in when we had time. This season is different. He said, I want South Africa on that list. I want Africa on that list. And Africa and South Africa in particular are on that list in a big way. So how did we find out that South Africa is on a watch list? And we're going to talk about the implications of being on that watch list a little bit later. We found out because of Hunter Biden. If there's somebody that Donald Trump doesn't like on this planet Earth, it's Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Hunter Biden. Put them on that list. So Hunter Biden is married to a South African named Melissa Cohen. And apparently he has been spending time in South Africa. He's been staying in a 9,000 Rand a night beachfront villa described on its website as an ultra luxurious designer home with spectacular 180 degrees unobstructed views of the sea. So Biden is there somewhere in the Western Cape of Helen Zillen, John Steenhuisen. He's there. He's having these 180 degrees unobstructed views of the ocean. And this is what got us into some of this latest drama with Trump. But latest drama with Trump is just a normal day of the week, to be quite honest. Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, the latest drama with Trump. If you're on that list of the reality show, that can happen 2 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever. So we're on that list. So Biden is at that villa, the 9,000 Rand a night villa, and the right-wing media looked into this story and reported on this story because they're accusing Hunter Biden of lying about being broke and why he came to South Africa in the first place. The New York Post is reporting that Hunter Biden came to South Africa to avoid a grueling deposition which was scheduled in a California lawsuit for last week. Hunter Biden was suing a former Trump White House aide named Garrett Ziegler, whom Hunter claimed had illegally hacked his laptop and spread its embarrassing content. He wanted to drop the case, this is Hunter Biden, but the former White House aide wanted it to continue. So Ziegler was an aide to the trade advisor Peter Navarro during the first Trump administration, and he tried to fight this dropping of the case against him because he wanted to sue Biden for legal fees. So Biden was successful. The California district judge, Herman Vera, granted Hunter's motion to dismiss the case last week, Thursday, after Hunter claimed he was too broke to continue suing this aide, Garrett Ziegler, and his nonprofit Marco Polo. This is what brought right-wing media into the story. They went to look at his California house because apparently he was saying, I'm broke, have to fix my house because of the California fires. They went to look at his house and they said, his house is fine. Then they looked into the issue of, well, he's in Cape Town. How much is his trip to Cape Town? How much is he spending? And they're like, he's spending $500 a night on these particular accommodations. How is he broke if his house is still standing, if he's spending all of this money on the accommodation and he's going to be staying for 3 months or whatever the number is that he's going to be staying for? So this is where we are. The Hunter Biden laptop is a story in and of itself, because remember, people were getting blocked from Facebook for sharing that story because it was alleged at the time that it was fake news, etc., etc. Turned out it wasn't fake news. That laptop and all of its contents were actually legitimate. Hunter Biden is a complicated character. He has a history of doing drugs. He has used his proximity and relationship with his father to get himself lucrative contracts, such as the one that he got at Burisma. Those criticisms of him have been fair, He didn't do his father any favors in the way that he has been living his life. He created a major liability for Joe Biden. So even if Joe Biden was mentally fit 100% and hadn't messed up the debate, there was still going to be lots of stories about Hunter Biden. And Hunter Biden was one of the things that was costing his father in the last election. But that's a story for another day. He's a complicated character. Suffice it to say, for the purposes of our discussion, the Trump administration does not like Hunter Biden at all. At all. They don't like him at all. Yesterday, a journalist then asked Trump, this is on Monday, I'm recording this on Tuesday. A journalist asked Trump about Hunter Biden being in South Africa. It triggered Donald Trump. You can just see, they were like Hunter Biden, they were like South Africa. You could see in that short exchange, this journalist pressed all of his buttons. Trump was not aware. But when he became aware, things happened. But this was the exchange between Trump and the journalist. Just watch Trump get angry. Just watch how it played out.
Sir, there were 18 Secret Service agents occupied in South Africa this weekend. Who's paying for that? Would you plan to revoke his Secret Service protection?
Well, we have done that with many. I would say if there are 18 with Hunter Biden, that will be something I'll look at this afternoon. Okay?
Sir?
I just heard about it for the first time. So you have 18 Secret Service going. Where is he exactly?
In South Africa.
In South Africa. And South Africa, you know, is on a watch list. You know that. Because what they're doing to people is brutal. And I've stopped having money go to South Africa. You know that. Billions of dollars. So he's in South Africa. That's very interesting. All right, I'm going to take a look at that. Thank you very much.
You can see that Trump actually was like, yeah, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to deal with this issue. And he didn't waste time in looking in that issue because on Monday afternoon, he issued a statement on Truth Social. This is what he said. Hunter Biden has had Secret Service protection for an extended period of time, all paid for by the United States taxpayer. There are as many as 18 people on this detail, which is ridiculous. He's currently vacationing in, of all places, South Africa, where the human rights of people has been strenuously questioned. Because of this, South Africa has been taken off our list of countries receiving economic and financial assistance. Please be advised that, effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. Likewise, Ashley Biden, who has 13 agents, will be taken off the list. Trump moves fast. You ask him a question at 11 a.m., at 12 p.m., he has removed Secret Service from someone's detail. That's how fast the guy can move. That's one thing about Donald Trump that I admire. In as much as I'm very critical of a lot of his politics, I admire the fact that he moves fast, faster than an African politician, faster than a Democratic politician, faster than a European politician. Trump moves. When it comes to speed, he doesn't play. He doesn't play. And I wish we had more politicians like that, because some politicians will tell you in January, we're going to fix the school. 3 years later, they'll tell you that the plan to fix the school has been approved by the board and now a budget has been allocated. 6 years later, we're investigating where the budget to fix the school went. And there's a slay queen, a Hosh Karimama, somewhere posting her new car. Hey, you people think I'm playing, but have you seen what's been happening on social media? Have you seen the Hosh Karimama? Hey, you must follow the news. You'll see what I've been talking about. There are Hosh Karimamas everywhere. Sometimes even a vice president can post videos somewhere, somehow, just chilling. And then when you look closely, Hosh Karimama. Hey. Yellow ties and politicians like this. I don't have a problem with any of these people. I'm just saying, when you see and you look, you'll see what you see. And when you see it, you have to tell it. It's the truth. It is what it is. Anyway, back to the discussion. Trump acted fast, and he was already on the Biden's family's case on Monday. On Monday, President Trump had already claimed that Joe Biden's pardons, which included members of his family, were void. He claimed that they were invalid because President Joe Biden didn't use a pen when he signed them. The pardons that sleepy Joe Biden gave the unselect committee of political thugs and many others are hereby declared void, vacant, and of no further force or effect because of the fact that they were done by autopen. This is what Trump said on Truth Social. So you can tell he was already on the Biden case on Monday. So that journalist, when they raised that question, he had Hunter Biden, South Africa. He was like, what? As soon as I get to my desk, I'm going to take action. And he did. But what was interesting to me from the South African perspective were the two things. One, the fact that South Africa is on a watch list. I wonder what that entails in full. What does it entail for South Africa to be on a watch list? Are there people who are designated to look into the conduct of South African politicians, the conduct of South African journalists? What does it mean to be on a watch list? What is the full meaning of that? The second thing was the perception that Donald Trump has of the treatment of white South Africans by the government of South Africa. It is not a correct perception. I know it's a perception that has been informed by Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, Ernest Roots, AfriForum, Rob Hersov, and others. There's been a coordinated effort to create a misleading narrative about the treatment of white South Africans in South Africa by the South African government. It's not an honest one. And it's important for us always when we have these conversations to correct that. I'm critical of the ANC sometimes, but I don't want to lie also and advance something that is not factual simply because I've criticized the ANC before. That is not what truth is about. That is not what honest engagement is about. Because here's what the economic data says about white South Africans. According to the economic data, white people are still at the top of the South African economy and pyramid. For instance, according to Stats South Africa, unemployment by race is disproportionately higher for black people than it is for other races. White unemployment is 9.2% and black unemployment is 46% on the expanded definition for both. That's a clear indicator, right? That there's no mistreatment of white South Africans by the government. If you look at income, according to Stats South Africa, income and wealth inequality data indicate that white South Africans are predominantly in a better economic condition than black South Africans. On average, white-headed households earned the highest income in South Africa of 676,000 rands per annum. That's a lot of money. Followed by Indian and Asian-headed households at 417,000 rands. Colored-headed households were at 260,000. Black African-headed households were at 143,000. Massive discrepancies. The average household income of white-headed households was almost 5 times higher than that of African-headed households and almost 3 times higher than the average household income of colored-headed households. Close to half of black African-headed households fell within the lowest 2 expenditure quintiles combined. In other words, each household was spending approximately less than 25,000 rands per annum. These are the numbers. And they show that white South Africans are doing much better. The richest men in South Africa are all white men. 70% of commercial farms are owned by Afrikaners. The winners in the South African economy continue to be predominantly white South Africans. That's the reality. So when Donald Trump says that, the human rights of people have been strenuously questioned in South Africa, where? How? Where has that happened? They have created a perception that some version of the Zimbabwean land invasions are happening in South Africa, but that is simply not true. I think Donald Trump has been given one-sided information about affirmative action policies in South Africa. People like Rob Hersov have gone around claiming that there are 142 race laws against white South Africans. There are laws which promote inclusion of historically disadvantaged groups. There are not 142 race laws. and they're definitely not against white South Africans. This is a deliberate mischaracterization of what laws like the Employment Equity Act are about. Let me give you an example to prove what I'm talking about. Gayton McKenzie and the Ministry of Sports, Art and Culture were advertising jobs recently using the Employment Equity Act. And that advertisement said they were preferring white and colored South Africans to come and work at his department because those groups are underrepresented. The Employment Equity Act mandates that there be representation that reflects South Africa. Gayton McKenzie gave preferential treatment in giving and reserving jobs for white South Africans to come and work at his department because of the Employment Equity Act. The Employment Equity Act mandates him to give them preferential treatment when they are underrepresented. How is a law against you if it can make sure that you are given preferential treatment if you're underrepresented in a government department? The employment equity laws want to make sure that certain groups are not excluded from government and business on the basis of race, which is what happened under apartheid. That was the agenda under apartheid. The Employment Equity Act seeks to correct that and to make sure that everyone is included. Inclusion should never be painful. Inclusion means understanding that everyone needs to be part of the economy. How is that unfair? How is that mistreatment? Can somebody explain that? And the idea that merit is sacrificed as a result of this is not true, because the Employment Equity Act and all of the other acts require that you be sufficiently qualified to get that job. It's not a case now where you will have plumbers flying airplanes. That's not the case. Whether it's medical school or engineering, you still need to get those points to get into the university. You're not going to get into medical school with C's or B's. You need A's, and they have to be high quality A's. That's the reality. Unfortunately, the government in and of itself is corrupt. Unfortunately. And that has led to people now criticizing everything that has been put in place by the legislation. Because they'll say, look, there's a portal over here. That's because of BEE. Look, this is happening over here. That's because of BEE. It's because of Hoshkar Mamas. That's the real reason. Yes, that's the real reason. These guys are chowing money in nightclubs and buying fancy cars, etc., to get these slay queens and other things. It's not just the slay queens. They want to live this life that's beyond their means. But it's not because of the legislation. It's because of corruption in the tender process. The tender process does need better regulation, better management. But that's a separate discussion from the idea that the government of South Africa is treating white South Africans unfairly. They are so unfairly treated that they are the wealthiest group in South Africa statistically. How? What do you guys think? Let's have a conversation. Till the next one.